Okay, here we are. Um, I've tipped my computer screen up so people can't see my baby.
Good.
Speaking of
Privacy.
family,
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, privacy. That's so interesting. Okay, this a whole other episode. Yeah, like how much of our kids we put on the internet.
we talked about in between this recording and the last, I believe I said niching down, which I don't know if that's the appropriate way. See, now his back is going to come up because this will quiet him down. Um, but I don't know if that's the appropriate way to talk about these episodes, but we're going to talk about the holidays today.
Hmm.
So in the holidays, we're going to talk about found slash chosen family versus your family of origin
Hmm.
and who and what that is and how that comes to be and who we spend our time with. But this all started because you told me you were like scurrying around Michael's. And
Hmm.
at first you were like, you could barely even decorate your Christmas tree.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
you were like, I'm putting a wreath on every window and I want to be able to do this every year. Um, and it was prompted by the fact that you or guys are going to be hosting 16 to 18 people on Christmas Eve, but not family, all found family. So um, let's talk about your found family because it sounds really good.
Yes, and I actually ended up at Joann Fabrics, not
Oh,
Michael's. But I said Michael's too. There isn't even a Michael's nearby. I realized I'm like, oh, it's just Joann Fabrics, which was so much fun. Um, And also, like, I bought a lot of stuff, but there's so many, it's like one of those stores where there's so many coupons and sales happening that, like, I think my bill was one third of what it was supposed to be. So wild. Hot tip, Joann Fabrics, finding 40. Um,
that's actually really good to know. Okay.
yeah. I think also I want to back up to the niching down thing. I think that's your nice way of saying, Kath, stay on topic.
Well, I can go broad and wide. I mean, I can
Yeah.
go deep. Um, but I think that the topic of found family versus family of origin or chosen family, whatever term people relate to, like that is a theme of your 40s through so many different lenses.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Okay, I'll jump into I could jump into Christmas Eve and that story
yeah,
and like who these people are.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
So we moved we you and I both live in different parts, but kind of close by of the Hudson Valley, and
Hmm.
you have returned to where you grew up.
Yeah.
And we ended up here in summer of 2020,
Yeah.
kind of on a lark,
I think we
but
talked about this in the intro episode.
we might have.
Yeah.
And when we got here, it was like high COVID. We had one kid at the time. Our older kid was like 2 3/4, almost three.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, we need to find some people. And we kind of like elbowed our way into this group of friends that were like COVID bubbling together.
Hmm.
And this was like everyone's wearing masks at the farmers market. And I was like, Sam, go talk to that
Oh, this
guy. That
story.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the group of people, and they're just who we do life with. And I am so grateful for that. And it's everything from spending holidays together. We've done a friends give like a very proper friends Thanksgiving, not like a separate Friendsgiving, but like on
On
Thanksgiving
Thanksgiving.
Day. We've done that 3 years in a row now, maybe four. I can't remember, but and those are huge bangers because there's five families in this group and each of us has two kids. So that's 20 people right there, which is wild as soon as you start adding in the children.
Hmm.
Um, and so we do major holidays together if we're all here. We also just do like get through the week kind of dinners, It's like total hodgepodge. What do you have in your fridge? What do I have in my fridge? I'll bring some chicken nuggets. I think I have some carrots. Oh shoot, I forgot the carrots. Whatever. Like
Yeah.
you're fine.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's kind of like an everyday thing, but also like the big things. And so my husband and I, we've got some busy work stuff happening that kind of take us through into the new year. And so we're like, we don't want to travel. And in prior years, we've gone to see both of our family of origins, like
Gotcha.
one in Pennsylvania, one in Baltimore, and we've like loaded the kids in the car. It's exhausting. It is
Mhm.
great, and it is so much effort. And this year with the work stuff and everything, we were just like, let's just stay. And we stayed for Thanksgiving and we decided to stay for Christmas. And we were kind of texting with one of the kind of group of families that's staying put. And one of them just hosted for Thanksgiving. And they were like, do you guys want to host this time? And we were kind of like, no, we don't. And then we were like, yeah, we do. As soon as we kind of got the wheels turning about what it could be. And I went to Joanne Fabrics and got all the wreaths,
Mm.
which we just finished hanging this morning, by the way. Um, and then my family of origin, my blood family is coming on Christmas Day. So we're actually hosting 2 days in a row. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before I jump down that, like, and then the family of origin, one thing I was thinking, which we also talked about with this podcast and in general, but when you were talking about these friends you found as get through the week people,
Hmm.
like, we need get through the week people, whether we're coupled, single, like parents, don't have kids, like, and I love that terminology because I feel like it's so much more like textured and like I can connect to that versus like community. Um,
Mm.
and then it also really speaks to like we had new tires put on one of our cars last week, and it was not an issue to go to, we drove both cars over in the morning, and my husband took the car with the car seat and put the baby in there, and I drove behind them, and then we drove back in one car. And then like 5 hours later, we were just going to do it again. But he said, you know what, why don't I ask the neighbor if they can drive m- drive me over that way we don't have to load up the baby. It wouldn't have been an issue to load up the baby, but then I was like, oh wow, that would actually be amazing to not have to go through that. And I definitely think single people get like the short end of the stick here. It
Mhm.
depends on the person, but I wanted to highlight that because we've talked about wanting this episode to relate to both audiences. And I think no matter how you slice it, that found family or chosen family is like really significant for us all,
Hmm.
whether it's in the frame of the holidays or just like a random Tuesday.
Yes. And like the kind of very casual, quick help, like that list of people that you can call. Um, and then also, I think a way to define who these people are for you is like how much do you have to go out of your normal way to have them over? Like, are
Mm.
you cleaning your house? Are you getting changed? Are you doing something really special? And it goes both ways for me because I can get a little intense about wanting things to look nice at our house when people come over.
Oh,
And
same.
by that I mean like our house is usually just covered in toys and it's like kind of a mess. So I'm like, okay, let's get this clutter out. And then it was over the summertime and I was posting. We always host bangers for my older kid's birthday, which is so funny because it's just like in the summer, we'll do like an afternoon party. I mean, we probably had 50 people at this party because we'll invite like
For
the
you telling
kids.
me that.
Yeah. And it's like everyone's in the backyard, but I knew people would be inside. And I always hit a wall when I'm hosting, and it's like, I can't go further. And that's with a lot of things in life. Like I've done as much as I can do. All the rest of the to-do list and the details are not going to get done, and that's okay. And so I wrote down on a piece of paper and I hung it on the wall at the top of our stairs. And it said something like, you're here because we love you so much. And also, I did not clean my upstairs because we love you. And a family of four lives here. And that's why it looks like a family of four lives here. Thanks for being, our friends. Like,
Oh my God. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, okay, I need a photo of the house of your house with the wreaths, and I also need a photo of that sign.
yeah.
Um, but So, all right, you have your chosen family coming Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and I'm like, how do I want to ask this? Is there a sense of obligation around that on the like family of origin?
There is a sense of traditions changing, which I
Mm,
think can go across. I think this is that like midlife moment where
yeah.
we had always gone to back to my parents' house, my siblings, and one of them is married with a family, one of them is single. Like we've always just gone, like holidays at home meant at my parents' house, the house I grew up in, the house they've lived in for almost 45 years now. And they're in the process of trying to leave that house, sell that house, and move and downsize. It's a long process. And
Mhm.
I think us saying, hey, we'll be the ones to host is really more a reflection of that transition of my parents' house being the hub of family situations
Yeah.
and the kind of changing of the guard to the next generation.
Mm,
That is what this moment feels like. For us to gather at the holiday, it's like, oh, I'm the oldest kid. We actually geographically are the most centrally located with the most amount of space and all those kind of practical factors. And
mhm.
so, and like my one sister who also has kids, like she has a pretty new baby. It's just like, and so now, and if this works, which like we'll see how it all goes, like how people feel about it, maybe that becomes the new tradition is that Christmas Day is at our house. You
Mm,
know, a real generational changing of the guard is what it
mm,
feels like.
mm. I feel like, I guess it's funny. When I knew when, like, the timing of Jude and when he was going to be born, I gave myself a, like, I'm not hosting anything kind of
Yeah.
get out of jail free card for 2024. And that's what we did for Thanksgiving. And that was great. I absolutely loved not doing anything other than making a Brussels sprouts slaw for Thanksgiving. And then
Hmm.
Christmas, it's sort of with the way things shook out. We're having my in-laws who I absolutely love and I'm very close with. Um, just the two of them. So just my husband's parents come Christmas Eve, they'll spend the night and then they'll leave Christmas morning and go and be with the rest of my husband's siblings. And so we normally pick up and go somewhere on that day. We normally are with my family in the morning and then Christmas Eve, and then we go to my husband's family in the afternoon. And I was using the excuse of the baby this year to not go anywhere, but I don't think I want to go anywhere ever again. I mean, never say never, but like I I think that the one of the things and that I knew was going to happen before I had a child, but now it's just kind of reverberating is how much permission I gave myself to really both connect to and then listen to what I actually wanted to do. And it just keeps mushrooming for myself and James because initially we were like, okay, we're not leaving for Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And then we were going to go down on the 27th to visit with his family. And as of Sunday, we actually went to visit his family on Sunday, and we were driving back and we're just like, sitting in the car, whatever. And out of nowhere, he's like, I don't want to go on the 27th. And I
Hmm.
was like, oh. And I was like, do tell. And so I guess what I've always felt with chosen family is that there is a lot more freedom and flexibility. And I want that just in general across the board. So this is a long, I'm saying a lot of things, but this is a long and windy way of saying that within our family of origin, we're being very expressive this year around how we want to do things and what it is that we actually want to do. And I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd done that sooner in life.
You know, okay, I know you want me to stay on topic, but I think this is
No.
exposing a deeper question of like, we're at this juncture of
Yeah.
being getting really clear around like, oh, you know what? I've been doing this thing for so long, whether it's like a
Mhm.
narrative we've internalized or a tradition or a path we've been on. And it's like, because that was given to me, someone
Mhm.
like gave that to me to do. And I've been operating on that script. And now, even with more clarity, it feels like at this moment, it's like, no, no, no. Actually, I am going to choose to not do it that way anymore. I'm going to do it my way.
Mhm.
And that is like a big kind of like, I think, I mean, there's so many levels to that, but it's a lot of like, I don't owe anyone anything. Like I can create healthy, safe boundaries for myself. I can be like being clear about this is actually being kind as opposed to putting myself in a situation that is going to exhaust me or like derail me or dysregulate me in some way. Like there's so much of that I think that goes, you can see it in the microcosm of like, how am I spending the holidays and what choices do I want to make? But it's like a bigger issue, I think, that comes to a head at this moment in life for a lot of women.
I think you're staying perfectly on topic. You're kind of getting at the
Thank you.
at the point of this entire podcast or these conversations that we wanted to have. Because yes, like the entry point is chosen found family versus family of origin within the lens of the holidays, but ultimately it's what you just described. And I, I don't know, I guess I don't know, time, age, experience that makes it that because it wasn't that in previous years, and I'm talking like, I'm 39, I'm talking like 35, 36, 37, 38, as recent as last year, that I wasn't aware that I was doing this space of the year from a complete place of obligation.
Mm,
And now, okay, I have a kid, sure. But even in so in with my family, when I said because initially my mom was like, I can host the Christmas Day dinner. And then my husband and I were like, I know she's probably doing it from a place of like wanting to relieve us from having to cook, but like ultimately it's easiest to stay in our home and we can just kind of combine efforts on cooking. And then e- my mom wrote back in a family text thread and said, I can bring this side dish and this dessert. And in the past, I would have been like, sure, sounds good. Like, I mean, I think I might go with the side dish. It's macaroni and cheese. And like, I never eat homemade macaroni and cheese. But I paused there. I was like, wait, I need space to determine what I actually want here. And so it's not just like the granting of the thing, like allowing myself to have that. It's also having the wherewithal to slow down enough in that moment to be like, mm, I actually don't know the answer just yet. And what I do know is I'm on the brink of an old pattern. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah. So what did you end up deciding to do for Christmas night? What
We,
did you say that?
I don't know, but so my in-laws leave Christmas morning early, and then we'll have space just my husband and I, our son, and our two dogs that, are our presence. It's over 100 pounds of dog. We'll get to at some point
Yeah.
in the podcast that Catherine is not into dogs, which I'm like, I totally get. I'm not into anyone's dogs but my own. And even my own, I'm like often like, I can't stand you. Um, and then my mom and brother and my brother's girlfriend, and it's mixed right now. There might be some other chosen family thrown in there. We've put out a couple of invites. Will come over in the evening and we'll have dinner. And I don't know what that's going to be yet, but um yeah, so that's what it'll look like. And then I have to be honest, I absolutely love the week between Christmas and New Year's, like that period in the world. So I get excited for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, but I really get excited for that period. So that's what we're doing. Menu TBD. How are you doing your menu on on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day for that matter?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I want to circle back to that
Oh,
week
sure.
between Christmas and New Year's, but I'll tell you about the menu first. So we love to host, but this is also a side note, but we at our brick and mortar yoga studio, we we realized like we host every single day in our business.
Yeah.
And we're not there every day, but every day we're putting on this show, like this production, this hosting production. Now,
Yeah.
thankfully, we have amazing people working with and for us now. We have an amazing community that has like absorbed the kind of institutional norms and values of the place now. So it can work without us there.
Yeah.
And we're getting every day better at the systems that we have in place, like making them more systematic. So it's not like every day I'm hosting a party for 50 people, even though I am, you know? So that has kind of edged us back from hosting in our personal life a bit more. Um,
Yeah.
we also have other found family friends that love to host too. So we're kind of like, cool, we can just host once in a while. So we decided to do Christmas Eve and we're like thinking, talking about ideas. And then Sam said fish. And then my whole wheel thing kind of started turning. And when I was growing up, we would go to the neighbors, which is really interesting. We would go to found family. I grew up like this. Like I
Mm,
grew up with this amazing on this amazing block in this neighborhood where everyone had kids our age and we like when I was 16 we all took a trip to Ireland and there was like 50 of us on this trip to Ireland like I mean it was bananas so like for me this actually incorporating found family into family of origin is a blueprint that like I grew up with and I think I was always seeking for
mhm.
my life but when I was a kid, we would go to the neighbors and they were Italian American. And my husband is Italian American, but he didn't grow up with this exact tradition. But they would have the Feast of the Seven Fishes, it's
Yeah.
called, on Christmas Eve. So we're like, we're not like, oh yeah, let's just host. We're like, we'll do the Feast of the Seven Fishes. So we are creating a menu with seven different fish dishes across the dinner, like just going whole hog. But now I have this amazing chain of text going. Everyone's getting creative around the theme, and it's like it's a lot of fun in that way. I think I kind of have to go big to feel like let's go. Like that's my hosting style.
Mm, yeah, especially living in such a, I mean, I'm all for it, but I'm also like, well, we no, we have all these like fish markets, people that come up from like the coast or different areas because we're not exactly near, we're not exactly near the ocean, but I will say in previous years, we've gone to the farmers market locally where these fishermen come from, say, like the Hamptons or even as far as like Massachusetts or Maine. And you can order in advance. We've done oysters and you can order in
Hmm.
advance and then they do a drop off like closer to the holiday, which is actually making me think like, oh, I want to tee that up. Um, but I love that. Like, so
We're
are you, is everyone taking a dish or are you cooking seven dishes? You can't be cooking seven dishes.
We're gonna do a lot of it, but guess what? We're gonna go. You and I have talked about this, but I don't think either one of us have been there. We're going to Guido's in Great
Oh,
Barrington. Sam and I are gonna go on the 23rd. See you there, anyone who's listening who's semi-local. And we're gonna buy because they have a great fish market there. Like they have all this stuff. So
okay.
we're gonna do like a really easy shrimp cocktail.
Nice.
One of the friends is bringing a Caesar salad with anchovies in the dressing. So there you go. That's one. So
Hmm.
that's we're up to two fish dishes. There's going to be a third appetizer with fish. I'm not quite sure. Maybe like a kind of like baked scallop or clams casino-y kind of
Ooh,
thing. Like, yeah.
love, love.
And then we're going to do a bouillabaisse
Mm.
fiappini kind of big soup that's going to
Yeah.
have like four fish in it.
Hmm.
And then we have friends who do this like thing with salt cod, which is actually
Yes.
a signature dish. So that's it. That's the whole that's the menu, basically. The fishy soup is gonna take a lot of the fish and
You know,
incorporate them in there.
I was also thinking of doing a cioppino that like, you know, if you do like a whitefish, like maybe like a scallop, clams or mussels or
Hmm.
something like that.
Hmm.
Um, okay. I realize in all of this is that I didn't tell you about my found family
Yeah,
because
tell me about yours.
I have such a small family of origin. My mom's an only child. My dad um, had one sibling. It was all kind of spread out. Is that we we really grew up like with like my mom post divorce, and so all of her friends that became our found family, and so I have great memories of more so Thanksgiving, but like these gatherings of people that knew good food and knew good wine. That just made for like these really epic celebrations. It's like someone would bring like the salmon mousse that they'd slaved over. And someone had been in the city and down at Zabar's or Dean and DeLuca and brought like amazing cheeses because we just didn't have it up here back then. Someone had some really fine wine. Um, yeah. So, I grew up with that tradition, and we have my husband and I have developed more of it, even pre-kid, especially in our marriage and our relationship. My husband is this is new for him because he's one of five kids and his dad is one of nine and his mom is one of seven. So like his whole experience growing up was family of origin, family of origin. But it's interesting because this past Sunday, when we had spent the day with, let's say, his family of origin and kind of some of the decisions just based on like where family stuff is right now, to be like, I think we're going to just like hold back on Christmas this year and do it on our own. That happened based on the day we'd spent with them. But then the reason we left early to drive back upstate was because our chosen family was hosting a very simple Sunday birthday. And I want to read the text to you, but I'll just think of it in the top. It was literally the husband's birthday. So mind you, on a Sunday, everybody has kids. Everybody's like Sunday, wind down. We're going back to school. And the text was to a bunch of people. It came on Saturday, and his wife was like, come over early. Like, I'm making cupcakes from a box and we're having chicken soup. And like, then we're going to wind down early because, everyone has to get going, blah, 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 to start the week. But this would mean a lot for Mike. So it was like, and that's what happened. That's what everyone did. And and so one, it was this like total antidote to the day that we had had.
Hmm.
Like so wonderful and so sweet and so fun. And yeah, we're, parents to a newborn, so we'll take a free dinner whenever someone offers it. Um, but then it was also like done within, it reminds me of your sign at the top of the stairs, where it's like this is why this things are the way they are, and it's because we love you. So it's like I'm gonna set all these boundaries around the cupcakes and when you guys can, when you have to leave because we have to get ready for Monday and the school week to start. But I'm also saying it because I love you and you get it and we all need it. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yes. I made a Canva invite for, which is hilarious because I just sent the JPEG to this group text chain for Christmas Eve. And on the invite, I said 5 to 8. It'll probably go till 9, but like establishing these expectations where it's like, you're gonna have to leave because we got to get our kids to bed because to the next, and you do too, but some people have little like slightly older kids and like to linger, and I'm like, and we're gonna let you leave by 9.
Yeah.
And I think expectations are really awesome in that way. I think it's so kind to be clear. That is like a real theme in my life right now. And it just can take care of so much when you can really vocalize what it is you need. And if you want to share why you need it and just let it be that and enough, I just think it does wonders.
Which can be the antithesis of family of origin. It can be a lot of like
Yeah.
suppression. We just go along with this and do it this way because that's how it works. And I tend to work well. My work itself can center a lot around how do I change that within myself
Hmm.
and within my family. But sometimes that stuff just like it doesn't change, or
Yeah.
it's not worth changing, or it's not worth fighting. But where you can find that, I don't know, words like freedom and healing are coming to mind. I don't even want to use those, but where you can find some solace is actually then doing it in the environment that you just described.
Yeah. I think you're so right too. I kind of am at this place with my family of origin where I'm like, and that is probably the way that things will be until the grave. And like,
Yeah.
I personally will feel and act and be different on Christmas Eve versus Christmas Day. And
Oh,
like, I just will. I can already see, I can tell you the ways, but I don't know how interesting that will be.
no,
I just know.
wait, Kath, I think that's really interesting. I don't know if you're able to distill it down. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think I keep hearing about this a lot. So I think other people are experiencing it too. Especially when I go home to my parents' home, I like revert back to that like younger version of myself. And I am not the like full-fledged autonomous human being who stands firmly in her gifts and talents that I am when I am not with them.
yeah,
And so I think like on Christmas Eve with our found family, with our friends, I will be the kind of like matriarch of the house, like the host along with my husband, like who can entertain with ease in the way that I do. And like, even though I'm like, we have a theme, we have a menu, we're so casual. Like, we are so like, come on in, make yourself at home. If people are like, how can I help? I'm like, here's exactly how you can help. Come on in, let's get you a drink. This is how you could shop with me. Like, let's go. Like, it's very casual and warm. And then on the next day, I will probably like make myself a little smaller, more of an observer and a peacekeeper. And it will shift. It will just be different. I will not be the like fully fledged autonomous human who is secure in her gifts and talents and can move from that place when I'm with the whole boisterous and deeply ingrained family of origin situation on the next day.
same. And I think that it's at least at this age for myself, right? It's like if I'm just starting to bring chosen family into my holidays, then most of my holidays I have been that small version of myself. So then, of course, I would breathe like the biggest sigh of relief when it's over the week in between the 26th,
Mm,
because then I'm just like, oh, I just get to actually be me. But now I'm like, I mean, it's interesting. I'm more relaxed with my in-laws than I am with my own family. So I think
same.
that I think a lot of people are that way. I think Christmas Eve will be pretty lovely. Um and then I think Christmas Day, it depends on what chosen family end up combining with my family of origin. Um but then the other thing too is that this is, I mean, the addition of a child makes it so my husband and this little bugger asleep on my chest. I'm like, oh, wait, this is my family. This is my
Hmm.
family. And so that's also happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
in this season. Yeah.
I think maybe we go to that week between Christmas and New Year's, and you love it, and I have always,
Well,
I
this year
have,
I love it. But
yeah, because I have a love-hate relationship with it. I remember being a first year associate at my law firm, so I'm 25, a baby, and I was like, I must go to work between Christmas and New Year's, and the some of the like second and third year associates were like, no one's in the office. Like, you don't have to be here. I'm like, I must be here. I've been at this job for 3 months. Like, I must be here. And I remember going to the office and literally no one was there except for a couple other first year associates. And I was like, noted, you did this all wrong. Don't do this again next year. And I feel like every couple years I have that wave of like, noted,
mm,
you did this all wrong. And it's because when I do it wrong, I do it not how I actually want to do it, but I'm doing what I think I
other
should
people.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's I mean, what we were also talking about is, and I have dipped in and out of this, you're directly in it, being in an industry where that Jan 1, like it's just a big marketing sales push for you guys based on the industry that you're in, not to mention that you're running the yoga teacher training like right before that. So, um, but yeah, I I don't know. I don't know why, because even in years when I have worked in the wellness industry and had to work during that time, um, it does feel like there's this like extra level of people just retracting, like the world going to sleep. And I like I like the way that feels. Um, so yeah, I don't know where I've landed us, but I'm trying to think. I want to bring it back to like holidays, chosen versus family of origin, family. And I guess I f- I will say this. I think I'm really I haven't fully flexed when it
Mm,
comes to that. And it's just the beginning in that regard for me.
yeah. I feel like I'm starting to fully flex this year. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see. I think we're creating like a new imprint. And then, I mean, it's also wild to think, because I don't think any parent is thinking, wow, probably in 20 years, we'll all be a little fucked up over the patterns that we've established right now. Like I'm thinking my kids will escape that and we'll all always be hunky dory la di da for the rest of our lives. But like
No.
probably not, which
Yeah.
I think is also the reason why like found and chosen family and friends that feel like family are so important because all of these different people at different points in our life, our blood family, our family of origin, the people we choose as we move through the world, like they're all this really delicate and necessary ecosystem to
Yeah.
what it means to have a life and to shape a self in this life. Like I think they all matter and you need both.
I love thinking about that. Yeah. Yeah. Because I can look back on it sounds like yours was if you guys lived in the same house, but I'm sure it developed in different ways and people moved on and off the block and but or the street rather. But there were definitely seasons of my life where my mom had certain groups of friends and then that would create our chosen family and then that would shift. Um
Hmm.
and it would become and then there are people who have remained consistent in that regard since before I was a baby, before I was born. So yeah, it's the root of our chosen family here for my husband and I started with a set of neighbors that my husband formed a band with a couple of years ago. And they did a bunch of work and they performed and then it all was just kind of like it a little bit crashed and burned.
Mm.
But now I look back on that and I was like, oh, it wasn't about the band. It was about the start of this family, this chosen family. That's the one that
Mm.
had the last minute dinner on Sunday. Those were the first people to drop off food for our meal train with the baby. Um, and I can see it in the way that we exchange text messages, where it's so heartfelt and kind of understood. And so, yeah, but we also have like a whole world of that that's going to open up to us because, frankly, of having a kid. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm excited about that. And dare I say, I wouldn't say I'm excited about the holidays this year. Uh, I feel at peace. I feel at peace around it, which is a big deal for me. Normally, I'm just kind of trying to work to get through them. I
Yeah.
and now I do feel a level of excitement. Part of that is just I'm not really feeling the holidays as much this year because of having a newborn and that, that being more of the focus. Um, but but yeah, it feels better. It feels better in that way. What about you? I mean, I know you've got a lot of work. You have a lot of work.
But I think this is again me straying off topic, but really what also is at play here is because I'm thinking about the holidays now. We're recording this episode on December 11th, and this morning my husband and I are like we had breakfast together. He usually is out the door working. The last few weeks he's like, I'm so tired. I
Hmm.
wish I wasn't so scheduled. Like we're so busy at work. And here's the thing, this is like me kind of sitting in the zone of a lot of the work that I do, which is around burnout and like stress and hustle
Yeah.
culture and opting out of that, we are finite beings. Like we have only so much energy and capacity to give at any one time. And I think part of why the holidays can suck for people is because we're still trying to perform 1,000% at work. And
Mm.
then the holidays themselves have 1,000% more stuff to do.
Yeah.
And so we're navigating this holiday question and this like being able to own our own choices right now on December 11th. We're like, I'm like, all right, let's look at the schedule, let's move those clients around, let's cancel these classes, let's do this, let's clear out the work piece
Yeah.
that we can get back to in January because we want to be present for the extra energy that the holidays require. I can't be 1,000% at work, 1,000% at home, and 1,000% at the holidays. I only have 1,000 to give. And
Yeah.
so I've got to reallocate that, like the expectations, in order to not burn myself out. Like that, I think is a huge piece of this too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, completely. Yeah, I think that were I not in a maternity leave-esque space, but I am trying to this is this is not exactly like holiday focused. It's more of a struggle in terms of like giving myself space in this time of life in general, whether it was the holidays or not. But I do, God, I recall years where, and amplified by booze and sugar,
Mhm.
where I just like by the like end of December, I just came to a screeching halt and felt really inflamed. Which I know is not necessarily the case for Sam, but I hear you on that like overexertion of
But that's the thing. Like I think most of us, all of us have had that experience, and some of us are still suspended in that where we're like trying to fire on all cylinders, kind of cracked out on all these things that get added into the holiday mix, whether it's like over drinking, overeating, over sugaring, overspending, overdoing it. Like that's the name of the season.
yeah.
And then we get to the end, we're like, what just happened here? And so I actually think that's like the kind of the center of this conversation too. And Clara, I would say like, I don't know why I've been saying 1,000%. Let's call it 100%. 95% of your capacity right now is mothering your new baby. And so that's a reason why like the holidays are also looking different for you. And like you don't care as much because 95% of all the energy you have to give is
Yeah.
going to this specific moment in your life. And I think there's a lot of wisdom, and maybe that's the wisdom of aging, that like you could say, actually, the most important thing to me right now is this new baby, and the rest can wait. And if that means my holidays are going to look different and be more on my terms this year,
Mm-hmm.
then that's what it's going to be. Like, okay, great.
I thank you for saying that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
and then I feel like we should bring this to a close, but I do
Yeah.
selfishly for my own sake want to have a conversation that's not specifically about maternity leave. It's more about being where you are, like being fully where you are. And it's not a presence conversation. It feels like a permission piece of I'm allowed to expand into this completely, whether it be a vacation or whether it be a Sunday afternoon or whether it be a maternity leave. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I wonder if our listeners are interested in that piece of permission too, that permission slip. And that's a good segue
That is okay.
into,
Survey.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk
Yeah.
about the survey?
Yeah. So we are recording this episode, like I said, December 11th. It's actually probably going to come out tomorrow. And
Hmm.
we kind of jumped the line. We have other episodes in the hopper that we recorded that will come out later, but we decided to talk about the holidays, and we have one more like timely episode we're going to record for next week, and it's actually going to be about drinking alcohol versus not drinking alcohol,
Yeah.
um, in case anyone's interested in that. And we put together a little Google Doc survey, and some of our early listeners, because really, this whole podcast is Clara and I having a conversation that we were already having and wanting to also open up the conversation to anyone who's listening too. And that means we really want to hear from you. So we will link to the survey wherever the show notes for this go.
Hmm.
Let us know what you're talking about with your girlfriends, what you wish you could talk about with your girlfriends. Like, so we can start to fold those questions into the episode. We're getting some really good feedback already, and we're going to probably do a whole episode
Yeah.
series just based on user question or listener questions. So we want to hear from you. We want you to be a part of this conversation. We feel like you already are. So let us know what you want to talk about.
I had someone message me because I think you had said, and let me just go to it because I think this will be a good example for people where you had written elder millennial women who are squarely themselves in the portal. So this was the
Hmm.
description around the podcast. And someone messaged me on Instagram and said, "You've got me," like just on that line. And what I want to say is like, cool, tell me more. So like it can be anything that people can come back with. Um, yeah, maybe we'll do like we'll either do a full episode or I don't know, we'll toss in questions throughout the episodes. Um, but I'm really looking forward to that.
Me
Um,
too.
so I guess the only other thing was, do you have anything you want to promote?
No, but I will. By next episode, I will. What about you? Is there anything you want to share
Yeah,
with our
just
people?
that I am taking new clients in the new year and I'm doing both. I'm starting to work with couples in 2025. So all of this is on my website, both in terms of like what that looks like and how you can like get in touch with me if you want to do that. But I have open spaces. So I will be starting people in late January. But if you want to snag a space and get set up to start in late January or in early February around that time, then you have to reach out now and be like, let's have a conversation and then we'll sort all of that out. So yeah, I have space um and then I am working. It's so interesting. In this moment, I could have been like, I'm starting at the beginning of January, and even just saying late.
No.
I know. I I know. So I'm not. But I do have that space, and I want to let people know. Um, and I'm excited to have this podcast and this conversation to see who comes through in that regard. And that's about
Me
it.
too. And we'll link to Clara's website so
Oh yeah.
you can see the couples work that she's going to do and reach out to her. Um, I'm so happy that we're talking. I'm so happy that we're sharing these convos, and I just am really grateful to be here.
Yeah. Same, same. Okay, to booze next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.